Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Before starting, subscribe and like the videos, it really helps a lot. The content from this video are taken from the web novel and manga series of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Now please enjoy the video.
Part 4. Afterwards, the questioning started. The nobles conducted the questions. Luke, who was no longer necessary to keep her company, with a shocked face stepped aside. Where did you come from? Whose underling are you? Whom did you learn magic from? Sylphy did not understand the situation. Why? Why am I here? Why am I surrounded by all these people with scary faces? However, since she was asked, she replied honestly. I, who hail from Fedoa region, am the only daughter of a hunter in Buina village, and learned magic from my friend, Rudy. And before I knew it, I was in the air. Somehow, I came down near the place that monster was at, and then I used the magic I knew to defeat it. I have no idea how or why any of this happened. So I answered honestly. The nobles who heard, looked at her doubtfully. A village with a child magician. Suddenly realizing they are in the air. Suddenly realizing there is a monster. It was not a believable story. Still this matter, a wandering magician who tries to carry favor with the princess, did a performance of defeating the Terminate board to show their power. It was easy to understand why they had complaints. There wasn't one reason to believe in anything Sylphy said. The nobles of the second princess faction talked about this and that for a while. Come to think about it, there is a story like that, amongst themselves. One noble recounted the rumor he had heard. There was a noble of Rudeus who employed a tutor. They could use the chantless magic as well. He was a young genius who was able to use saint-class magic at an early age. Is not, perhaps, this person that so-called genius? It is Rudeus. To the imperial city, only faint rumors of Rudeus had yet been transmitted. It is because of the pressure on information Soros exerted. However, when Soros was a bit moved by the sake, he was boasting about a boy who was like a son to him. A story of a genius boy, who defeated the minions of the senior minister. A genius boy, whose superiority the Sword King Ghislaine acknowledged. A genius boy, who managed the Rudeus' violent daughter. A genius boy, with a tasteless hobby. It was nothing more than an unlikely rumor. Therefore, the nobles treated it as only idle talk. However, Sylphy was able to actually use the chantless magic. Where it was able to fit in, the truth of the rumor began to take form. Ah, but sadly, that is the story of a boy. The main point would be that wouldn't it be strange for them to be in the imperial capital? The nobles puzzled over this. They questioned Sylphy again. Asking leading questions. Perhaps your real name is that of the one called Rudeus, isn't that right? Different. It's different. Rudeus, that is, Rudy, is the person who taught me magic. Sylphy, down to the tiny details, told them about how the boy called Rudeus Graret was the one who taught her magic. How Rudy is very wise and how Rudy taught her various things. That story had very much astonished the nobles. If the story is really true, then that genius boy does exist, and before leaving the village, he had arranged to leave an apprentice. It is not an ordinary apprentice. It is an user of chantless magic. Surely this is an ominous circumstance. Well, if any of the stories are true. With the information manipulation by Soros, the case and circumstances of whether the person was a boy or girl can be changed. However, the fact that this girl is a user of chantless magic is a reality. Users of chantless magic are a rarity. If Sylphy had said that she was not that genius boy in question, then the probability that she is his disciple remains high. The real name of that genius is Rudeus Graret. When the full name was spoken, a was uttered and many nobles were puzzled. What is Graret? Why is it the name of the upper nobility who protect all the sides of the Asura kingdom? The name of Graret is not unusual to any degree in this country. It is known as a family with a fondness for women. To hear that a lower noble's daughter or maid has conceived a child in order to become a mistress is not an uncommon thing to hear. And, thus, it is allowed for those mistresses to call themselves Graret. They decided that the names of the 4 protected sides they would be called by would be. Notice Boreas Euros Zephyrus. There are many people who introduce themselves in Asura kingdom as Graret. However, though an ordinary name, The talk becomes different when it's about a genius. For nobles who wish to be established, they need to have blood relations with one of the 4 main branches of Grerit. No doubt he had been working towards that end. That he started out with the Boreas, by being hired through Philip, Sora's so-called illegitimate child, was also guessed at. At least, something like a betrothal to Boreas' shrew-like daughter could make it so he could claim the name. Luke says that none of his family, brothers or anyone has a boy with that name. It will be necessary to examine it more in detail. Nobles very much loved thinking of things to do with power struggles. If Rudeus chose someone other than Notice, plans would be crafted to sabotage him. However, if he chose Notice, there were a chance he could be enlisted as an ally. And so, their talks deviated from the original purpose of validating the identity of Sylphy. To them, the possibility of a power struggle was of far more importance than anything trivial, like the true nature of Sylphy after all. Part 5. 1 week later. News about the disappearance of Fedoa region had made it to the Imperial City. It was a prompt report. On the day of the metastasis event, there was a knight who was just barely outside the range of effect by chance. They reported on the situation at the nearest town. A second knight succeeded the first, continuing on a horse without rest for a day, and relayed the information to the next big city. From there, alternative means such as a carrier pigeon were employed to spread the word to the Imperial City. The king received word of this, and appointed the Asura Magic Division to investigate. It had been 1 week until news had come to the Imperial City. Meanwhile, reports had come out of people and monsters suddenly appearing all over the place. Even with all the reports, the cause was dealt with as an incomprehensible and mysterious event. However, by way of this report, it was made clear that it was a large-scale metastasis event. Information on the calamity had spread to the imperial capital in the twinkling of an eye. Naturally, such information reached the ear of Sylphy. Mother and father, she had no idea where her family was. Everyone was missing. What? This, after hearing of such a story, this common girl was completely stunned. She did not comprehend what had happened enough to react sufficiently. Or probably even how to react at all. What happened? The nobles also wavered on how to deal with Sylphy. When the answers emerged as to how Sylphy and the monster had abruptly showed up, it was attributed to the large-scale metastasis. Any doubt that she was a spy had faded away. And going by her claims, the possibility that she was the child of a lowly hunter became high. Hunter. No matter how much the princess herself was helped, it remains that a hunter is a person at the lowest point of commoner status. And those of the inner palace will not let a fact like that pass by them. However, even if you were to go home, there was no house left to go home to. Well, we're in a troubling situation, it seems. The royal palace doesn't handle social differences very well at all, and it seems there is no home to send you back to, either. Is there someone who can receive custody of you, I wonder? If this person was an user of chantless magic, then they would be helpful in one way or another. Mentioning it further, an elf with white hair is a curiosity, and if they were to reach adulthood they would undoubtedly be useful for carrying out various duties. And with a lewd smile, the nobles check with each other that they've arrived at the same mutual thought. Then suddenly among those thoughts, the second princess dropped a bombshell with her speech. Since the house of Sylphiette has gone and vanished, then it's fine that she lives together with myself in this castle. Shall we become good friends? The second princess was exceedingly pleased with Sylphy. Of course, the fact that Sylphy had saved her wasn't the only reason. When it comes to being the princess, it's only natural that she helps others. Sylphy's incomplete knowledge on etiquette was an issue. Though it seemed to be normal, her words were considered to be a little impolite, and her behavior also was thought to be a little impolite. If the conversational partner was a noble, then she would be walking a thin line on tolerable speech. If the conversational partner was a royal, then there wasn't a line there that would have been tolerable to walk. The second princess accepted it as informal speech, and, friendly, Oju-sama. Isn't there a too big difference between our status, so? If it will hurry our friendship along, then, how about my guard? Won't you please serve me as a guard then? Presently, my guard consists solely of Luke, my guardian knight. The seat of the guardian magician has recently become vacant. But, I don't have anything like a strong power, saying you aren't powerful, kusukusu, how modest you are. Of course, the nobles opposed such a thing. Even with the effectiveness with the event. Even with the ability to use chantless magic. Even with the saving of the princess. Sylphy in the end is still a commoner's child. And in addition to that, now there is no longer a way to clear up her familial origin. Though the claim is that of a hunter's child, there is no evidence of it. On the contrary, having lived in a farm village, somehow high etiquette was known. To put it bluntly, her true character cannot be known at this time. These words were only for the sake of appearance. This useful child was too valuable to be the princess's new toy, or so it was thought. Ariel however flat out rejected their opinions. Sylphy is the benefactor who saved my life. And is now a friend. Who gives a damn about the fact she is a commoner? I will not forgive rude behavior. At these words, Luke made a bitter face. Part of his duties as a guardian knight included getting rid of bad insects who would get close to the princess. As for whether or not Sylphy was an useful insect or a harmful insect he did not yet know, and yet it was still the job of Luke to protect the princess even from insects whose true nature was not yet known. He also expressed gratitude to Sylphy. His life had been saved.
That's it guys, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want more and don't forget to like the videos.